Okay, so let me introduce myself, and my name is Bhante Cunda, and I've been supporting Newbury Buddhist Monastery and VSV for, I lost track already, but roughly 6 years. So this is my 6 years back here again, and we just got in and arrived just in time before lockdown started. So we arrived about just over a week and a half ago. Yes, yes. So I've been originally born in Malaysia, and I moved to Malaysia when I was about roughly 12 years old. And I came across Buddhism when I was working up in the mines and got really interested in Buddhist practice and especially meditation. And later on, I ordained in when I was about 33 in Bodhinyana Monastery. I've been a monk for roughly 12 years. A trainee for 1.5 years, and a novice monk for 2 years, and this will be my 10th reign, beginning of this Vasa. So I should have 10 reigns as a fully ordained monastic. So so people can actually start calling me Ajahn, but I'm pretty easy. If people call me Bhante or Venerable, I'm happy. Yes, yes. But Ajahn is just in the Thai Forest Sangha. Ajahn is usually given to someone that's 10 years in reigns or a teacher. Yeah. But I'm happy if people just call me Bhante. Yeah. I like to keep things simple. Okay. So after the Dharma talk, so people are welcome to have any question and answer. So the Dharma talk would be roughly an hour. So today's topic will be good. I will talk about the Buddhist practice as a Buddhist monk. Especially, I've survived 10 years practicing as a Buddhist monk. Actually 12 years if I include the 2 years as a novice. So practicing as a Buddhist monastic is a bit of a challenge, and you see, we don't have a lot of monastic in Bodhinyana Monastery that make it as a ajahn, because the ratio when I first joined the monastery in Bodhinyana, it used to be about 10 to 1. So you see about only one monastic to make it to 10 reigns. But over time, the monastery have grown, and we have proper accommodation, and things have become more relaxed. So the ratio now is about maybe 1 to 5, or maybe less than that. So a lot more people are making up to 10 years in reigns. The draw rate used to be quite low, 1 to 10, but now roughly it's about 1 to 5. So I have made it. I've survived being a monastic for 12 years. That's really good. But I remember in the early days, there's always a lot of challenge. The challenge of coming to stay in the monastery as a layperson, and see if I can cope with being away from my family. But it was easier because I was away from my family quite a lot when I was working up in the mines for about 8 years. I can't remember how long. It was a few years ago. About 8 years. So staying up in the mines, flying and fly out, it was a bit of a challenge because I spent a lot of time by myself, and I didn't really want to associate with too many people in the workplace because they wasn't keeping the 5 precepts and have a lot of bad habits. So having a lot of time to practice as a layperson working up the mines was quite a good experience. So I also have that training, understanding, keeping away from friends and also from families. So later on, they asked to ordain at Bodhinyana Monastery, and Ajahn Brahm accepted me to ordain there. So I was ordained when I was about 33 in Bodhinyana Monastery, and did my training there for 5 years, and before coming to Newbury to support this place. So I've been coming back and forward every year since coming here and support the monastery, and also the Buddhist idea of Victoria. So please excuse me, because I got a slight sore throat, and I think because I've been working quite a bit out in the weather here and getting used to the cold weather here. So in the morning, sometimes the temperature can drop down to about 4 degrees, and it rains quite a lot. So most of the monks and the lay guests are staying here. Sometimes we are required to do a lot of work, but sometimes it rains in the morning and afternoon too. So so we do a lot of work outdoor, wearing rain jacket and stuff. But something we cannot manage is just the weather, because we try and get as much things done as possible before the wasa start. And recently we have the storm damage, so a lot of trees fell down the monastery and quite some of the buildings was damaged, but luckily not a lot of damage. So we did a lot of work outdoor. So I think I managed to got myself a slight cold, but my health is pretty good. I tend to recover very quickly. Anyway, I hope it's not the virus. But I still have taste. I can still smell, so I don't think it's the virus. Okay, so going back to the monastic practice. So the Buddha say, these are the 3 hardest things to do as a monastic. One is leaving the world to enjoy the Sangha. 2 is being happy in the monastic life. And 3 is keeping the 227 rules and practicing the sutta and the Vinaya. So these are the 3 hardest things to do as a monastic. So it is true. For first, leaving the monastery was living lay life was quite difficult. Because as a lay person, there was always a lot of contact with my family and friends. So when I first joined the monastery, that was a bit of adjustment to be made, coming to the monastery. So I did my first 2.5 years training as a white person, dressing in white clothes as an anigarika. So it's the phase before you're staying in the monastery full-time for a year, dressed in white, doing cooking, driving, and the different work in the monastery. And so you shave your head and just wear white only, and you keep the 8 precepts, and basically not eating, and the 5 precepts, and I'm not wearing perfumes, like things like jewelries and watches. So those are the 8 precepts. And sleeping on a high luxurious bed or chairs, sitting on chairs. So those are the 8 precepts when I was practicing as a trainee in Bodhinyana Monastery. So it's quite difficult when you're practicing it as a lay person in the beginning. I think the hardest time I find was away from my friends and especially my family. And I stay in the forest quite often, because when we ordain as a novice monk, we stay in the kuti, a small monk's hut, and usually we spend mostly up to about 20 hours or 18 hours by ourselves in the forest, in a little kuti. And during the wasa, maybe we must spend maybe 1 hour or even half an hour with the community, or the sangha. So that's one thing was a bit hard to get used to. But luckily, I did have some good meditation as a layperson, so that did help me a lot. Ordaining as a monastic. So I did tell myself, once my meditation improved as a layperson, I'll go and ordain as a monastic straight away. But I did ask, and my parents say no. Twice, and I asked again the 3rd time, and they say, look, even if you ask 3 times, the answer is no while they're still alive. So I say, well, in that case, I'll go ahead and ordain as a monastic. I'm not going to wait for my parents to pass away, because who knows, maybe I might pass away before my parents did. So after the 3rd time, I went and ordained. So I waited for 10 years and asked, and my parents say no, and I asked again. I say, well, can I ordain after another 10 years? And the answer say no. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and ordain. So leaving the world is also quite difficult. Spend a lot of time in the monastery, but after a while you do adjust to the monastic life. But happily as a monastic is also something that is quite a bit of a challenge. Because the Buddha say, leaving the world is hard, but being happy as a monastic is also very hard. Because when you stay in the monastery, it is quite difficult to wear the robe, to live quite simply, have a small monk's kuti in the forest, and learning the 227 precept as a monastic. So there's a lot of don't, things that you cannot do, and things that you can do. So sometimes for lay people, they might find there's a lot of restriction. So a lot of lay people don't ordain as a monastic. They find it's too restricted. So being a monastic is almost like being in lockdown for your whole life, because there is a lot of things you can't really do. You can't use money. You can only have one meal a day. So if we work, we have breakfast in the morning, then we have lunch. Then after midday, we don't eat anything. But we allow things like cheese and chocolate in the evening, just to stop the hunger. Because we call this medicine for the body. So tea and coffee is allowable in the evening. So with the restriction, it is not easy. And the other restriction we have is we're not meant to be alone by ourselves with the opposite gender. So all monastic, we're not allowed to be alone with another female person in a room. So I think that is a really good rule to follow, because that tends to lessen the defilements of the mind. Because in some religious groups, I'm not going to mention what groups they are, but if they don't keep this kind of practice, then it can lead to a lot of sexual abuse. And in some religion, that do happen if the monastic are not careful. So they tend to lose a lot of faith for the lay people, and then people don't trust the monastic. So I'm really glad that Lord Buddha saw these defilements that will rise in the monastic in the future. So he did make a rule, a part of the training rules, that a monastic should not be alone with another female by themselves. So no one-on-one interaction. So you see the harm and the disappointment in some of the religion in the world. But luckily in Buddhism, we kept that rules 2,500 years since the Buddha passed away. So the 220 rules it leads to the growth and the fate of the lay people, and the ease and the welfare of the monastic, and also it enhances the practice, because once these rules are practiced by the monastic, it leads to a lot the happiness of and the ease of practice, but also the strength of samadhi, and the wisdom will arise in the future. So this practicing rules is quite important. And the third hardest thing the Buddha say for monastic to do is to keep the 27 rules and develop samadhi and the wisdom, and also to understand the Four Noble Truths, and to practice the Eightfold Path. So being a monastic is quite difficult, I find. When you practice, I've been practicing for like 12 years now, being a monastic, and I never find it easy. It always get harder and harder, especially the longer I stay in robe. But as long as the monastery is kept simple and the monastic have time to practice, especially during the Vasa, because outside the Vasa we do a lot of work in building, in teaching, and basically in doing service to our lay supporters. As I find that I become more and more senior, the monastic are required to do more service to the monastery. We require to do more duties, and then time to practice is less. Because as a junior monk, as a novice and a junior monk, we don't really do so much work. But after 5 rains, we are required to do more responsibility. And after 10 rains, we have to do more teaching and support the other branch monastery. But I've been coming here for the first 6 years because there was hardly anyone coming over. And in Bodhinyana Monastery, there was a lot of work that was required. So Ajahn Brahm asked the monks to volunteer to come here to practice. To practice also to support this place. So that's one of the requirements as a senior monk now to just do more service and more practice and more service and support to the other branch monastery. Practicing this Eightfold Path is very important because as a monastic, sila of virtue is very important. So the more we practice the higher virtue. Then samadhi is the higher mind or meditation. Then panya or wisdom is the higher wisdom that lead to peace, bliss, and enlightenment. I remember the early days as a monastic and a layperson. It was quite difficult. Apparently, my first Buddhist teacher wasn't Ajahn Brahm. It was 2 groups of Buddhist nuns. So these 2 groups of Buddhist nuns. One was from Singapore, and she was my first Buddhist nun teacher when I was a layperson. So I took the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts from her. Just to let the people know, my first Buddhist teacher wasn't Ajahn Brahm, was a Buddhist nun from Singapore. So I always have a debt of gratitude for the fully ordained bhikkhunis, because they did taught me a lot, and they taught me to have a happy mind and a pure heart. And my first Buddhist teacher was a Maya nun from Singapore. She taught me that you must develop a loving heart and practice loving kindness. But also, I did look on the internet, and Ajahn Brahm was also good at teaching loving kindness meditation. So I came across Ajahn Brahm through the internet and reading books, especially books and also tapes Ajahn Brahm gave. So sorry for my voice. I have a slight sore throat. So my Buddhist teacher, she told me that I'm a good person, but I have to be careful who I hang around. So she told me that I must learn to associate with good people. So that's one thing she taught me is to associate with good people, because that way I learn off their good qualities and their behavior, and it also enhance my sila and also my happiness, because up in the minds of associating with a lot of people that did not keep 5 precepts properly, or drink a lot and just gossip a lot and have a lot of rough speech. So that actually made me quite depressed. But when I become a Buddhist, a lay Buddhist, associating with the Buddhist practitioner and good people, it actually helped me to become a happier person. But after practicing as a layperson for years and ordaining in Bodhinyana Monastery with Ajahn Brahm, being a novice monk, I did have a lot difficulty with the Sangha there, because there was a lot of men there, up to about, maybe in the community, up to about 20 men. So when you have so many men together, and they're all struggling on the being a Buddhist monk and practicing in a training monastery, there's always a lot of friction. It can be quite competitive, so a lot of monks don't make it. So a lot of people do this road within from the first to 10 years. So I've seen a lot of monastic this road, and I lost a lot of friends. But these days the monastery is a bit more comfortable, so the dropout rate is less. So being a monastic, it can be very competitive, I noticed, with the Sangha. So I did ask Ajahn Brahm, I said, the Sangha is quite, it's not what I expected. And Ajahn Brahm told me that this is a training monastery, so please don't look at other people so much, just take care of your own practice. And that's true. So I have to learn to look at people less and take care of my own practice. But one time we have a Buddhist conference, and I met my my teacher when I was a layperson. She came to one of the conferences. There was both of them. And I told her that, being a monastic in training as a junior monk is very difficult, because I'm asked to do so many duties, and sometimes the middle monks or junior monks will pick on me and bully me and just get me to do extra duties and get me to wash a lot of bowls and boss me around the place. And I told my teacher, this is not what I expected. I thought that we have a lot of loving kindness. And my teacher told me, no, they say, Cunda, please don't look at other people. Don't look at other people. Please don't look at other people. Look at your own heart. Take care of your own practice. Take care of your own mind. And take care of your heart. And develop a lot of good qualities. And I find that was a very good advice coming from my teacher. Because she's been a nun for 20 plus years. And I've been helping a lot of lay people. And she does give a lot of teaching. So I have a lot of respect for my two first fully ordained Buddhist nuns. So they did really teach me to really take care of my heart and take care of my mind, and to always purify the mind, and always when things go downhill, to really don't look at people too much and look at my own practice. Yep. So they really taught me to develop a pure heart and pure mind. So I think that's one reason why my meditation improved quite a lot. Because Ajahn Brahm really taught me meditation. As for my lay teachers, when I was a lay person, these are fully ordained Buddhist nuns. They do a lot of service and they teach a lot of metta and service and kindness. So when I was a lay person, as a lay person, my lay teachers, my Buddhist fully ordained nuns, they taught me to basically just always be aware, practice meditation, practice a lot of loving kindness, and also take care of my heart, watch my heart very carefully, and be very mindful to know that the defilements do not arise from one's heart and mind. Because when we maintain a pure heart, then the 5 precepts is easy to practice. Because when the defilements are strong in one's heart, then you see these 5 precepts can be broken easily. So you see the result with the world. Yeah, so these was the two really good advice from my Buddhist teacher when I was a layperson, and also when I ordained as a monastic. So looking after one's heart and mind and knowing oneself, the internal awareness is very important. Because when you brighten the mind, when there's a lot of darkness in the heart, it's very important. Because when you develop mindfulness, given the precept and the meditation, you develop the one pointedness of mind that lead to calm and stillness, and also the mindfulness becomes stronger. So one of the benefits I find practicing as a monastic and a lay person is the practice on loving kindness meditation. So this is what the Buddha taught. There is 11 benefits in practicing loving kindness meditation. So these are the 11. One, sleep more comfortably. So when you do loving kindness a lot, you sleep well. And the second benefit is one, wake up comfortably. So sometimes I find that you do have developed a lot of metta, your mind becomes calm and peaceful easily. And when you wake up very calm and peaceful. And for some practitioners that have met, they practice a lot of loving kindness. They told me when they sleep, their mind naturally go quite peacefully. Because when they practice loving kindness a lot, through meditation, you get the calm and the peace arise. And the mind becomes very radiant and bright. So instead of having a dark mind, the mind is just brightened up. So these are the radiant mind. So when they told me when they sleep, the mind becomes radiant, and when they wake up early in the morning, the mind becomes quite radiant too. So naturally, for someone that practices a lot of loving kindness, the mind can be very radiant. So sometimes they describe to me that when they sleep, the mind becomes so bright. It's like there's like a light in the mind where they cannot sleep properly. I say it's okay, just learn to let go and enjoy that. The mind will naturally just go into sleep. But when they describe when they wake up in a dark room, they find that the mind is quite radiant. Like wherever they look, there's not darkness, there's brightness. I say, yeah, that's good. So it shows well when you practice a lot of loving kindness. That happens naturally. Okay. And also, the third benefit is one, do not have evil dreams. So, yeah, it's true. So, person that practice loving kindness, they don't have bad dreams. They don't have nightmares. They dream of nice things. They dream from nice places. So, yeah, so when I stay in the monastery, even myself, when I was staying for having retreats or during the Vasa, sometimes I dreams of flying around the place. So it was quite nice. You dream you're quite free and very happy. And dreams are quite interesting as a monastic. So so you dream of really nice place. And when I went home to visit my family, in the early days as a monastic, when I came back to the monastery, I have really weird dreams. So one time I dreamed that I was walking with my mom, and one time I saw this person standing up in the tall building, and this young person jumped off from the tall building and basically committed suicide. Then I look at the young person that fell down on the building. Basically, it's just it's just almost like a super image. Then I wake up at night and go, wow, that was a really weird dream. But when I reflected the dream, what the dream taught me was basically going to visit my family. It was nice. So time to time the monastic do visit our family. So the attachment arises in my heart from my family and remind me a lot of the lay life. It was quite comfortable, especially for attachment to my family, but also the five senses, seeing how comfortable lay life was. But after that, when going back to the monastery, the first few days, there's a lot of strange dreams that come up, and that was one of the strange dreams. Going shopping with my mum and seeing someone committing suicide. So what that's reflected in my mind was seeing that lay life was good, but it will lead to a lot of suffering, because the mind will get reborn again and again and again, and the whole things with the worldly suffering, and the attachment will rise. So dreams are quite interesting. Yep. I'll talk more about dreams later on. Okay. So one is dear to human beings. So when you practice a loving kindness, you see people are drawn to a kind person. And one is also dear to non-human beings. That can also includes animals, because in Bodhinyana Monastery, the monks have been there for so long. You see, we'll walk past, and the kangaroos just look at us. And sometimes we'll come over and ask for food. But normally we don't really encourage people to feed the kangaroos, because they can get too aggressive. But sometimes in summer, and if there's not much grass around, sometimes we just give them some small amount of food. And a person who practices loving kindness meditation, especially monastic, is protected by devas. I don't know, that's true? Yeah, maybe. Yes, I think I stayed in the monastery long enough. There's a lot of interesting things that happen. Yes. So you see, I believe that you see the higher beings, if there's good practicing monastic and they practice a lot of loving kindness, you see they are protected by higher beings. Because I believe that in lay life we get a lot of lay supporters, but sometimes when the lay people pass away and they're reborn in the higher planes, they do continue to support the monastic. But sometimes it's quite interesting. Sometimes when something that's needed in the monastery, we'll think about it, and sometimes support will just come out from nowhere. But sometimes I find it's quite interesting being a monastic. Sometimes we need something. I was thinking about it quite a lot. Then a week later, someone brought something that we needed in the monastery. Then I was going, that is pretty interesting. I didn't really ask for it, and later on they arise. I go, that's quite interesting. But also we have supporters that stay in the monastery, and they say that sometimes if the meditation is doing well and they're walking around, then they notice a really bright light moving around in the monastery. And they ask me, Bhante, is the monastery haunted? And I go, what do you mean by that? I say, describe to me what you see. They say sometimes you see a really bright light in the monastery, and they look around, then they look back and they disappear. I go, oh, that's quite normal. Because from what I understand from lay people and also monastic, when they stay in the monastery, during the opposition night, the full moon night, or when after a Dhamma talk is given by Ajahn Brahm or any of the monks, and sometimes lay people reported to the monastic they see this really bright light moving around the monastery. So I say this is pretty normal. You see the higher beings will come to the monastery and to listen to the Dhamma talk. So these things do happen, but we rarely talk about it. And also the seventh benefit is one person that practice loving kindness, fire, poison, sword, will not hurt or touch that person. I don't know about fire, poison, or weapons, but all I know is sometimes if someone enter a very deep meditation, especially jhana meditation in the fourth jhana, if there's a bushfire of a flood, that person actually is protected. And we heard of cases of monks where they been through flooding, and they came out of flooding, and they were fine. Somehow there's a force field around that person. Also a fire, during the Buddhist time, they found this monk that was they thought he was dead, so they put it onto a pile of sticks to cremate the person. And they set the fire up, and the next day they saw this monk walking on Bindabat, so they go, wow. They thought it was a ghost, but it's actually a person that was still alive. So monks can actually be protected in the meditation if there's a fire. But one thing I do know is if you do practice a lot of loving kindness, you see if you get sick, you tend to recover quite rapidly. So one time I went to India, and some of my monks and also lay people got a lot of injection for the vaccine. And when they went to the pilgrimage in India, I think 2 of the monks that was there, was sick for like the whole trip. And when they come back, they was even sick for 1 month. And I didn't take any vaccine when I went for the India trip, and I was only sick for 1 day. And normally what I find that if I do get sick, I tend to recover quite rapidly. So I got this sore throat for the last 2 days. But today I might recover. I feel a lot better, but I find that if I talk too much, then the sore throat gets worse. So I find that as more I talk, then it gets worse. So I apologize for my not clear voice at the moment. And the 8th benefit of loving kindness meditation, one's mind become calm and concentrated quickly. So I don't like to use the word calm. I like to use the word stillness and peace quickly. So that's one benefit I find. Even I practice loving kindness meditation, if I get frustrated or irritated or angry, if I do more metta, then I find the meditation become calm and peaceful quite easily. And from lay people and monastic, I know that I practice a lot of loving kindness. I see the result with them. They can get meditation, deep meditation quite easily due to loving kindness. Because loving kindness, you learn to develop that emotion of peace, joy, happiness, and also letting go. Because when we calm, when we're happy, we bring out those emotions of peace and happiness. Just like what the Metta Sutta is chanted. We let things go. We let things go easily, because we know that as a lay person in lay life, it is quite difficult, even with the lockdown and people are losing their job. And they do have a lot of fear and anxiety, But same in the monastery, when you have new people training up as monastic, they are still learning. And when you have a lot of men together, you can become quite competitive. But so I noticed in the minds was quite competitive. Then when I went to join the monastery, I feel like the same thing was happening too. It can be quite competitive and aggressive. So when that happened, we must learn to develop a lot of forgiveness and develop loving kindness. And also one of the benefits of loving kindness, it also enhances the meditation. The mind becomes calm and peaceful quite easily. But also the ninth benefit is the person's face becomes quite serene and quite relaxed. So one time I noticed a person that's always angry, their face can become very fierce. But people that practice a lot of loving kindness, lay people and monastic, their face become quite serene, and things like wrinkles and like wrinkles around the eyes become less. So one thing I noticed, if I practice a lot of loving kindness, I have less wrinkle and my face becomes smoother. And the 10th benefit of loving kindness meditation, when a person passes away or dies, he does not die with fear or worry. That is quite true too, because being a monastic, we do go to a lot of people that are dying in hospital or in very old age. And some are old supporters that are dying or in hospital. I notice when I go and visit them, they tend to be quite relaxed and quite at ease and quite happy. And you know that getting old in their 80s or 90s and with sickness, they tend not to be too concerned or too worried. And most of the cases when we come and visit our old supporters, they tend to be very happy to see a monastic. And they realize that getting older and getting sick and dying is just a aging process. And they realize through Dharma practice, as they get older and this body fall apart, it's just nature. And we will die and we will get reborn again and again. So taking care of the mind and the welfare of the mind is very important. That's why we, as a Buddhist practitioner, we put a lot of effort to develop the higher mind and purify the mind. That lead to a deep meditation. And we know this body will fall apart. We have to let go of this body sooner or later. So through the deep meditation, we let go of these 5 senses and we drop this body as much as possible. Because as we get older, there will be more pain and more sickness in this body. So if we can learn to let this body go early, please do so. Let it go. Don't carry this body around because it is quite a big burden as we get older. And as I know that I get this sore throat, and if I go into meditation, I can actually drop it and manage to heal and recover. Then if I don't drop the body, then I find that the irritation will get worse. But if I do drop and rest more, then it tends to heal a lot faster. Yeah, and the 11th benefit is, if the person don't develop their practice deeper and penetrate into the Four Noble Truths, that person may get reborn in the Brahma worlds. So these are the 11 benefits of loving kindness meditation. So these 11 benefits of loving kindness meditation I find was very, very practical and quite beneficial in monastic life. Because I know that Ajahn Brahm also practices a lot of loving kindness. And he says sometimes if the meditation is not working, he just need to apply a bit of loving kindness, then the meditation will come deeper. Yep. And I find that with a lot of monastic and lay people too, those that practice loving kindness, they tend to have very good meditation and tends to do well with it as a monastic life. Because sometimes if people don't make it through in monastic life, usually there are some cause and condition. One is if the meditation is not doing well. 2 is they're not happy in monastic life. And the third reason, it does happen once in a while, is if the practitioner start having lustful desires for the opposite gender. And you see it with monastic in all tradition. And that when that happened, some abusive behavior do happen. But sometimes some of the senior monks that we know before, they've been enrolled for like 20, 30, 40, even 40 years, and they tend to fall into that trap and disrobe and go off with some other person and get married. So Ajahn Brahm is not the first abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery. The first abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery was Ajahn Jagaro, and later on he did this robe and went off with one of the supporter and marry her. So that things monastic do fall into those traps. So that's why for most monastic, we try not to stay with the opposite gender alone too much, especially our late female supporters, because sometimes as a senior monk, when you become more senior, you tend to do more teaching and you have more interaction with our female supporters. And sometimes it can be very sweet, and sometimes some of the junior monks or even the senior monks can fall into that trap. So also one thing as a monastic I noticed is becoming more apparent is the eight early wings, eight condition of happiness and suffering, fame and be nobody, praise and blame, gain and loss. So this apparently become more apparent being a monastic. These eight wings do blow a layperson or monastic around, and if we're not careful, we can fall into this eight willing condition. It's quite interesting. But the simile is quite. The Buddha did give a simile of the eight willing wings. It's like a tree. If the tree is not grounded in practice, in sila, in samadhi and wisdom, these eight willing wings will blow a person around and topple that person. Because in the last less than a month ago, we did have very strong wind in Victoria, and a lot of the trees did collapse in Victoria, in the state forest. So when I came back to the monastery, I went walk around, and I noticed a lot of the really big trees have basically toppled over and collapsed in the monastery. But another thing I noticed, a lot of the smaller trees have collapsed compared to the really large trees. The really large trees, some of the branches have broken off and fell down. And in the central area, lucky some fell down, but did not damage the buildings. And luckily it happened at night, so there's no one walking around the monastery when the trees and the branches came off. So similarly what the Buddha say was, if we're not grounded deeply in our practice in sila and samadhi, then this eight willing condition will blow the person down quite easily. So when this condition grows, we must really deepen develop our higher virtue, our samadhi, mindfulness and stillness of mind, and our sila, our panya, wisdom. We know these eight willing conditions always come and blow us around. So happiness, we all like happiness. And sometimes when things happen, when it's good, well, we enjoy it. We know it won't last. This too will pass. And when suffering arises, lockdown happens. We lose support. A lot of supporters don't come. Our donation drop. Then we go into debt, or we can't pay our bills. Okay, great. Well, when lockdown happened, great, we have a quiet monastery. Especially last year during the lockdown, it was great. We did have a lot of free time to practice, and the monastery was very quiet. But a bit of suffering, because we didn't have so much donation come in. Okay, great. We don't spend so much money. We can really cut down on our expenses and live very simply in the monastery. So we basically just cut down on everything as much as possible. Also, the condition is fame and be nobody. Well, when I become a monastic and as a trainee, I was basically just a nobody. It's great. But as I came and support this place more and more, then you get a bit of fame. Oh, it's good to be in charge of this project in the beginning. But later on, I realized that if someone can do a better job, better if they do it. And as more and more senior monks came, it's better if they take more responsibility. But as for myself, I always find that it's always good to share duties and responsibility out. Because in order to build our community, it's always good to share things out. So so fame and be nobody, it don't really concern me, because I find that sometimes when you get fame, it comes a lot of responsibility, and if you're not being nobody, it's even better. So you become free, you don't have to worry too much, and you live a simple life. And also one of the conditions is praise and blame. Well, I do admit I do get praise a lot for things that I never have done. I get praise for things that I've never done. But also the interesting thing is I get blamed for things I never have done too, or things I have done. So this praise and blame does arise quite often as a monastic and also as a layperson. So when then things come, praise or blame, we reflect on it, but we don't carry it in the heart. We let it go. We don't get concerned too much. And also the last condition is gain and loss. So this is quite common. We get gain a lot, and we lose things a lot too. So when we gain, it's good. When we gain, when we know it's not going to last too. Then when we lose things, we know that it's normal. This is life. We born as a human being. This 8 willing condition will happen quite frequently. But when it do happen a lot, one thing the Buddha did give us a lot of simile on this condition. So the Buddha say always reflect on this condition. So he gave the simile of the lotus. The lotus is a flower that grows in mud. When the condition is right, the lotus will grow from the mud, and it will bloom, and it will be beautiful, and beautiful flower. So this condition is a lotus can only grow in mud, dirty water, where it's just pretty disgusting. So when this 8 condition arises, when we get blown around with suffering, we can we find refuge in our sila, in our samadhi, and in our wisdom. We go inwards into one's heart, into one's mind, and we develop wisdom, and we develop sila of the higher virtue, and we develop the mind, the higher mind and samadhi, then that leads to wisdom and understanding. So these are the wisdom that must develop as a monastic. So we become an island to ourselves. So when we become an island to ourselves, we spend a lot of time by ourselves, especially meditation. We go internal. That leads to happiness and freedom. The mind that is attached from the 8 worldly condition and through our senses. But also, this is also another simile that I read in the internet, because only when the darkest night, it produces the brightest stars. So sometimes in Newbury Buddhist Monastery, when there's no full moon, when there's no cloud, I look up in the sky, then I see the brightest stars and the most beautiful stars when everything is dark. So when the storm come, when rain come, things will grow. Because without storm, without rain, plants will not grow. So always look for the rainbow. When there's storm, and when there is strong winds and strong wind and rain, then things will grow and become strengthened. Anyway, I think maybe I'll stop now, because I think my voice is getting worse if I talk too much. Okay, so I like to open any question and answer, please.
Thank you, Bhante, for the wonderful talk. We have received 7 questions so far. So would you like to select or answer them, or would you prefer?
Okay, I think we'll just go one by one and see how much time we have.
Sure, thank you very much. The first question: how does one use fear as a practice, such as having the fear of seizures?
Seizures. Okay, seizures. Okay, seizures. I haven't looked into seizures too much, but sometimes it is a genetic condition, and some people are born with this genetic condition. So one of our senior monks, his mom's got a seizure. Time to time, it will happen. And when she goes out shopping and stuff, her husband will always be very close by her, and she will sometimes wear a helmet. So when she has a seizure, epileptic seizure, her husband will basically support her, and make sure that she won't fall down and smack her head on the table, or on the floor, or on the cupboard. Yep. So so one of our senior monks, his dad just passed away last year, so he can't make it to join us at Newbury Monastery. So now at the moment he's taking care of his mum. So he did went and stay with his mum for like a few months, taking care of things and getting things sorted out, getting the will sorted out. So I think the most important thing he can do is just being kind to his mum. But for Buddhist practitioner, we find that what we recommend to our supporters, just be kind to the sickness, make peace with the sickness, because when we make peace with the sickness, regardless if it's a seizure, a sickness, or a cancer, then things do improve a bit, because one thing we find that the meditation class next to the hospital in Perth, those patients that come in to do the meditation class, if they do the class, they tend to cope well with the sickness, and if they do pass away, they pass away quite peacefully. But for many cases, those who have the sickness or the cancer, they do learn to live with it. In many cases, we have people that have cancer, they're not meant to be alive, and they actually manage to live a few more years longer, and some actually live still alive. So we do know of a lay supporter. There's a good supporter of Dhammasara Monastery. He was diagnosed with cancer all over the body, and he was not meant to live long, but that was since 10 years ago, and he's still alive. So if we make peace with the sickness, and make peace with ourselves, then we can learn to cope with the condition. Because when we make peace with everything, our body becomes quite strong. I hope that's a good answer.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question: can you reflect a bit on the Namo Tassa and explain it? Thank you from Florida.
Okay, Namo Tassa. Okay. So I can read it in English. So what it means in Namo Tassa 3 times is homage to the Blessed One, the worldly one, the right one, or the fully enlightened one. So basically, we reflect on paying respect to Lord Buddha, because he's practiced well and fully enlightened, and one is worthy of respect, honor, and I can't remember another word. Of respect and support. There is, because my Pali is not that good, but I think Ajahn Brahm did explain about it. Maybe you can ask Bhante Sunyo next time he give a talk, because he's a Pali expert, and he does study the sutras quite in detail. So it might give more meaning to it. Yeah, but what it means in English is homage to Him, the Blessed One, and the Worldly One, and the one that's fully enlightened. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question is: overindulgence in addictive food, drinks like coffee or tea, breaking the fifth precept if they affect your mental and physical well-being?
I think with food is fine because with food, like, you should see how much food we get in Bodhinyana Monastery. During the weekend, we get up to about maybe 100 dishes, and some of the food is incredible. Like I told my mom, I haven't eaten so well before as a lay person compared to as a monastic. I mean, some of the food we have in Bodhinyana Monastery is incredible. Even in lockdown, we have delivery service, and the food is still really incredible. Like we get different dishes from all over the world. All different dishes from people, different style of dishes from all over the world that people cook: Japanese, Thai, Sri Lankan, Western, Italian. And sometimes we get steaks, sometimes we get lobsters. Sometimes we get durians. I like durians, so sometimes it's nice to have it. We get fast food, we get burgers, and the monks really eat well. And I mean, as a layperson, I really enjoy food. As a monastic, I really enjoy food too. And a lot of the senior monks also enjoy food. And it's fine. It never really affected my meditation. If I overeat, then I find that if I might get a bit too sleepy in the afternoon to calm the mind down. So if you do enjoy food, it's fine. For monastic, it's not a big problem because we have maybe one meal a day. I normally eat one meal a day, but if work, I have breakfast. So I need the extra energy. So I find it's not a problem enjoying food. Because for monastic, we don't eat after 12 o'clock or midday. And I know a lot of the senior monks and monks myself really enjoy food, but it's not a problem. So whatever lay people offer, we're just happy to take it. And as long as we don't go out demanding for food, it's okay. Yes. And the fifth precept with drugs and alcohol. With drugs, best to avoid it and keep away from it. Because I've seen a lot of harm with friends that are not Buddhists, just indulging too much with legal drugs, because it does do a lot of harm. But if there's benefit taking medical drugs, like chematous, what they call description marijuana drugs, so that is fine. Because that's basically described for people that have cancer or very sick, because there is a lot of benefit for people that take medical described chematous, because sometimes when people are in a lot of pain, so they need to get marijuana, or what they call, the slang word is ganja, that's described by the doctors, and that is fine, because sometimes when you take those things like that, that's described by the doctors, there's a lot of benefit from it. So anything you do that with medicine-wise, that should be fine. And that should be up to the doctors and the individual to seek for advice from the doctors. For the monastic, we don't recommend it, people taking drugs, except for if it's a medicine described from the doctor. Yep. So that's the Buddhist point of view on the fifth precept. In terms of alcohol, best not to take it, because when you take a little bit of alcohol, it can always lead to more and more. And when you look at a lot of problems in the world, fights, arguments, and accident, it always sometimes, most of it leads to just drinking too much.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question. Did you get angry with your parents when you find out that they did not intend you to allow to ordain?
I did got a little bit annoyed, but I think I was glad that they stopped me from ordaining, because at that time I was pretty naive. I mean, I was getting good meditation. I thought I would ordain and really go for it and get the result, the fruits and meditation quickly. Yeah, but now I realize ordaining as a monastic, that was really stupid thinking. Because as a layperson, I really struggled 5 years trying to get result in my meditation practice. Because I practice, to cut the story short, I start reading too much books and asking too much questions from too many monks. The more I ask, the harder I try, the more doubts that arise in my practice, and the more I really suffer. Into the point I got a headache. Instead of doing samadhi, I was trying to gain something in my practice, in my meditation practice. It's only after 5 years I decided to basically let it go, and I give up practicing meditation. Then I basically just relax and let go. Then I find the meditation start to do very well, and I was getting good meditation after 5 years as a layperson. I go, this is really good. I say, okay, I'll wait for 5 years and then ask my parents if I can ordain. So that was good learning experience. Because when you're young, you're always very eager to ordain and practice. But luckily my parents say no, so I continue to practice as a layperson. But sometimes I find that a lot of monks are ordained quite young, in robe. They haven't experienced a lot in life. And sometimes the sad thing is, a lot of them ordain this role quite early in life, like within 5 or 10 years. So having a bit more life experience, as after 10 years, it did help me a lot, become more mature and a bit more relaxed, and also I'm able to basically help to pay off my parents' debt and pay off the house. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. I'm new to this teaching and would like your view on, if a person constantly argues with everything you say, how do you stop feeling so hurt? Can living, practicing, demonstrating kindness be perceived by some as weakness? And why?
It's always good. This is always a hard thing. Yeah? Even myself, I find it very difficult as a layperson at work. But basically, once I become a supervisor, then it was easier. I was in charge of the workshop. But also, I do have to argue with the customers too. So sometimes I tell the customer, look, I only try my best. But if they don't like the work or the service or the bill, please feel free to go somewhere else. But sometimes it's funny. Sometimes they go somewhere else and they come back later and say that I do revive a good service when I was working as a mechanic and also running my business as a layperson. So being a Buddhist practitioner, you tend to be very trustful with work. So we try not to boast too much with work and say we try our best. Yep. So I was quite I wasn't the best mechanic. I did things quite fairly and with respect and kindness to our customers, and because of that, we earn a lot of trust from our customers. But as a monastic, when I ordained, in the Sangha, especially living with 20 to 30 men, it can be quite competitive. So when you have that many men in the Sangha, monks and lay people, monks and lay people, we can start rubbing against one another. So it's really great for the practice. So sometimes a lot of the Sangha members, especially the young ones, they have a lot of testosterone, and they have to vent it out in work or in argument's sake. So as a practicing monk now, sometimes for me, I just, if they want to work hard, go for it. If they want to take a lot of project, go for it. If they want to always win an argument, okay, that's their business. I just keep quiet and just walk away. Because what I find that there's always a lot of nice Buddhist practitioners, lay or monastic. You see, I always remember what my teacher told me. Associate with the wise and the good. So I always choose to hang around with good, kind Buddhist monks that have good practice. So that can be with Ajahn Brahm and my other Buddhist friends. And those that want to very, very competitive, they always argue a lot. Basically, I just keep away from them. If they want to win, they win. Because even if you're ordained, people are still human beings. Yes. So it's a hard one. I do have difficulty, but these days I just learn to let go and let people be. And just live a peaceful life. Okay, thank you.
The next question, how do you become kind even though you don't feel kind?
Okay. Okay. If you do it, please do it for yourself. Yep. That's why Ajahn Chah once said, you should look at other people 5% of the time. You look at yourself 95% of your time. Ajahn Chah once said, he gave a simile. One time he went into the forest. It was quite peaceful and he was getting good meditation. Then when he went out from the forest and went for Bindapat, went to the city, he heard a lot of noise. And the lay people was just basically making lay noise and playing loud music and stuff. And he got really annoyed and upset of the noise. Then he reflected on the noise and said, is the noise disturbing him? He said, no, he's disturbing the noise. So he says, his mind, he reflected not to disturb the noise. So basically, not to allow the noise to disturb your heart and your mind. So even if we feel angry or upset or irritated, sometimes we just have to go into peace and calmness. Like for myself, if there's too many arguments with lay people or monastic, then sometimes the metta might not work. One day in the monastery is funny. Four monastic argue, start picking on me for no reason. One monk said that, if you come over, don't just be nice to me and give me drinks and stuff. Just leave me alone. I go, okay, no worries. I just walk away from that person. Then another monk came up to me and said, so you changed the talk, the type of your talk. You didn't like my talk. I say, I just decided to change the talk because I feel like the type of the talk is not proper. And as I decided to change the title of the talk better. So that monastics are arguing with me. Then I got another phone call from another monastic saying another brass monastery. Then he would start arguing about all the problem that's happening in the monastery, and the tractor was broken down, and I did a excuse my language, a shit job on the tractor. I was going, oh man, this monastic, he drives so roughly, with the monastery vehicle. Like when things break down, he come and blame me for the problem in the vehicle. Jeez. Yep. Yeah. So it's quite difficult. Yep. Sometimes on that day, I think 4 different monks start picking on me, arguing with me, and sometimes if I carry it in my heart, then it is a bit hard to have a peaceful state of mind. Sometimes the best thing we do is we just practice letting go meditation. If we can't practice loving kindness, we practice letting go meditation. We let things go, and we make peace with ourselves. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question. This person says, Dear Bhante, nice to see you in NBM.
Thank you.
Can you please explain a bit how to drop the body during meditation? Thank you.
Okay. The dropping body is quite important. It's also something what I practiced in the beginning. That's why when you listen to my guided meditation, I do not go straight into the breath straight away. I always do a body scanning first. So when you do a body scanning, you learn to relax the part of your body. You start from your head, we relax your head, we make peace with it. Then we start with our upper body, our arms, our tummy, to our legs, then back all the way up again. So when we do a body scanning, we learn to relax his body. Then we learn to make peace with the pain, with the ache of the body. Then we let it go. Then once the body becomes very relaxed, then we go to our breath meditation. So when we go to breath meditation, as the body becomes relaxed and calm, then as the mind becomes more calm and peaceful, then as our thoughts become less, then as the mind becomes more calm and relaxed, then the body becomes more relaxed and more calm. And once that happens, in some cases, when the body is not moving, then the body will slowly fade away and disappear. So when the mind becomes very relaxed and peaceful, then you sometimes you notice, hey, where's the body? I can't feel the body. I can't feel my back. I can't feel my leg. I can't feel my arms. It's like the body disappear and went to sleep. It's only when you bring awareness to the part of your body, then you feel the body sensation arise. But if you relax and calm the mind, then it will disappear. So that's how you learn to let go of the body. Yes.
That's all the questions.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more questions, I did during the Dhamma talk. I did say I'll go back to the dreaming state as a monastic. The dreaming state is quite interesting. As a monastic, the more you practice meditation, what will happen is meditation become a natural part. It becomes automatic. Then mindfulness will also become natural as samadhi deepens. So it becomes a almost automatic process. Meditation, mindfulness, and letting go. And when that happens, meditation will slowly go into the dream state. So I have met a lot of monks and lay people that told me that when they did a lot of meditation and when the meditation was doing well, they have very interesting dreams too. So things like flying is quite normal, but also they start dreaming about meditation. So Ajahn Brahm always say that sometimes when he give a Dhamma talk, he start dreaming about meditation and in his dream too. So that's also quite interesting. Yep. And sometimes even myself, when I was doing a lot of meditation, I start dreaming about meditation too. So I was like dreaming that I was meditating in my dreams. So that was quite interesting. It's a very nice meditation too. But also, one of the monks in the monastery that I know, they were saying that when he was dreaming that he was in his dream he was up in the mountain, walking up to the mountain somewhere maybe in Asia. He walking up to a monastery up the mountain, and he went up to a Dhamma hall, and he went to the Dhamma hall and he saw a Buddha statue, Buddha Rupa, like something like this, and he saw the Buddha statue or Buddha Rupa. There was a ray of light coming from it, bright light, bright white and blue light. Was going, wow, the Buddha Rupa is just got ray of light coming out from it. Then he noticed from within his neck that he was wearing an amulet of a Buddha Rupa, and there's bright, pure, bright, white, radiant light coming from the Buddha Rupa. The amulet is wearing his neck. So he picked up the amulet and looked at this white, radiant, bright light. Yeah. So more he looked at it, he was drawn into the bright, pure white light. Yeah. And suddenly he woke up from his dream, and he woke up with his mind completely bright, radiant, pure, joy, happy, calm mind. And that was basically the meditation went from meditation. Even when he was dreaming, he was dreaming of radiant, bright light. So he woke up with a lot of happiness, peace, and calm. So just one thing I heard from one of the monastic in Bodhinyana Monastery. So we do have rules on that monastic, so we don't mention. We just mention what he experienced. So if you do practice a lot of loving kindness, and so you see the result will happen. You just, the meditation will naturally becomes a natural part of dreaming state, and that normally happens. When you do on a 2 weeks meditation, silent retreat, or during the Vasa. So when I came here, I was hoping, there might be a lockdown, so I can go for a quarantine. But we just arrived before lockdown happened, so we didn't went on quarantine. Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending this Dharma talk. So tomorrow, Monday night at 7:30, Bhante Sunyola will be conducting the guided meditation. Okay, so thank you for attending this Dharma class.
And Bhante Cunda, would you like to talk about the Ajahn Brahm's 70th birthday?
Okay. So it's, the details is online. So I haven't looked through the detail yet because I was preparing to come through here. So Ajahn Brahm will be celebrating his birthday, 70th birthday party in Janago Retreat Center. So there will be, I think there will be a documentary on Ajahn Brahm's life. And also Ajahn Brahm is raising funds for the Newbury Buddhist Monastery project up in the monastery. So Ajahn Brahm, hopefully he can raise funds. So people raise funds for his birthday party, and to build a retreat center here, basically for the benefit and happiness for the monks, for the nuns, especially for the lay people, because the lay people don't have a place, especially in Victoria. So if we do manage to get a retreat center built, then the fourfold community will be fully established. So the monks will have their own place where they can stay and practice, basically with their own group. And it will be very nice for the nuns to have their own place where only the nuns to stay and practice. And all the lay people will have their own lay center where they can stay and practice in their own group. Because the setup in Bodhinyana Monastery is nice. We have the monks' monastery, then Dhammasara have their nuns' monastery, and the lay people have their own retreat center where they can stay and manage and practice. So the monks and nuns will come over to the lay center when it's built, have their arms rounds, then go back to their own monastery to eat and also to practice and have a quiet time. Because when that happens, it will enhance the precept, the meditation and the wisdom of all monastic. Because when you have monastic monks and nuns and lay people mixing together, it tends not to it's not the best support for the sangha. But you have monks, nuns and lay people have their own place, then the monks and nuns and the lay people will benefit a lot, because especially the monks, we can keep our precept well, and the lay people basically have their own place, so we can be monks as monks and nuns can be nuns as nuns, and the lay people have their own place where they can basically manage that place and also practice well. So it will be very exciting in the next 2 years once the lay center is built. But I don't know all the detail. Please look online to find more detail.
Yes, it's Ajahn Brahm 70th.org.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. So have a good evening no, good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Please be careful, and stay at home with families. The more we can mix and mingle with other people outside, the more we can safeguard ourselves. Because when you keep the 5 precepts and when you stay at home, you're basically protecting yourself and protecting other people. Okay, thank you. So I'm a Sangha.